Ratchet. He is one of the acutes on the ward. He suffers from a pretty severe stutter, and he has a tense relationship with his mother. She's very controlling over him, and he cares very much about what she thinks about him.
I'm playing Randall P. MacMurphy, and he's kind of a gambling guy, somebody who's lives life to the fullest. At the same time, he's always got his guard up and putting up a few walls, more than a few walls, to always come out on top, and scoot in, do his thing, scoot out, and that's it, time to go.
I'm playing Dale Harding, who's one of the psychiatric patients in the hospital. He seems to be an intellectual person, and there's speculation that he may or may not be homosexual, which was a different sort of thing in 1960 than it is today, as far as being public about it. So that's who I'm playing.
I am playing Nurse Ratchet. Nurse Ratchet is someone who loves control and does everything that she possibly can to maintain that control throughout the entire course of the show. I do think deep down she really does believe that what she's doing is for the good of these patients, but it certainly doesn't come out like that all the time. So for me, that's something that really kind of evolves throughout the process of the show. I do try to give a little bit of thought to that when I first read the script, but really it just continues to develop and build as I go. I can't say that I spend tons and tons of time going too deep into the backstory, but little nuggets do start to come up as we start to interact and run through the process with the other characters.
First of all, I take a look at the script, and in looking at the script, I look for hints as to what might be, especially problem areas. What is a character's motivation in a given scene? If there's a transition in the scene, why is it difficult sometimes for me to wrap around it? And then I think, okay, well, if he answered that way to this, then there must be a reason. And given that I know what his general character is, what justifies his reacting the way he does? And that's how I kind of develop a backstory.
I definitely do. It's one of the first things that I like to do. I'll even do that as I'm thinking about auditioning and looking at the characters that I might be interested in. I don't know. I read the script and I think about, what could have made that character get to that point to act that way. And in a lot of shows, it's pretty, the backstory is a little bit intense. But yeah, it's a fun process that I like to do immediately.
I sat down and looked at some of the language that he uses, some of the things that he says, biases that seem to come out in the lines, and just thought, well, who would say those sorts of things? Where might someone have come from? And I decided he probably came from academia or some such place. He's educated at any rate. I really appreciate the message of people being encouraged, in fact, allowed to be who they really are. And occasionally that, there's that sort of messianic figure that comes along and helps to sort of liberate people to be who they are.
The character of Nurse Ratchet is really just something very different than I've ever had an opportunity to play before. I think some of the characters that I've done most recently have had a little bit more humor and comedy related with them. So truly this has been a chance to stretch those acting skills just in a little bit of a different direction. So I think for me personally as an actress, just a chance to play a very different character. And just the story for the whole show is just something that I find quite fascinating. And there's just the more and more you read it and the more you watch it, you get something a little new from it every time.
Without kissing behind too much, the director and So I'm going to answer it from the point of view of production first. The director, the other cast members, but as far as the work is concerned, I like the character of an opportunist who, on the outside, shows bluster, but has opportunity to reveal his vulnerabilities. And that way I can kind of round it out to go from caricature to character. So I guess, plus I like Looney Bins, what can I say?
Oh man, I've been wanting to do this show for a really long time. I think probably like 7 years ago, I saw the show for the first time. I didn't see it, but I read it, and I loved it. So it's sort of been one of those shows that has been eluding me for many years, and I've been wanting to do it. So I was super excited to see that it was actually going on, and even more excited that I got a part in it. So. Oh man, I mean, I love the community aspect of it, that people from around can come and see something that people in their area are doing. But personally, I always think about, especially if it's a comedy, it's kind of like being in a sitcom or something. You know, you're on stage and you're interacting, you're doing your thing, and then hearing like a room full of people laughing at something that you said or something that somebody else said. It's just like, it's a surreal experience that very few people get to have, and I'm like, I love it.
Peter.
I really appreciate the challenge of having to do a thing right at once. Someone once asked me, but just before a show, she was nervous and she said, "Oh, why do I do this?" And I said, "I know why you do it. It's just like a sports team or any other, even group units in the military, getting together and like pursuing a goal and knowing that it can only work if everyone works at it together, and sort of convincing the audience that we're doing what we're doing."
I love the human connection, I guess, behind it that is happening throughout the entire show. The unpredictability, you kind of never know what's going to happen. Every show, no matter how much you rehearse it, each performance is always just a little bit different, and it's fun to reflect on that at the end of it as to why. But being able to bring a story to the stage where you're actually seeing people interact is just something that I find to be so special.
But what I like about theater in general is that there's an audience, number one. Number two, that every show is different. And, if you're doing something on stage in one show or in a rehearsal, for example, you have an opportunity to perfect it, and then you find you can do it a different way. The next time you do it, it works, gives you some options, and you get feedback from the audience. So I think that, and working with a really good group of people, an ensemble, that if you try something different and they work with you and they're malleable enough, you can, work back and forth and they can do the same thing. It becomes more realistic.
I hope that everyone's able to enjoy it. And I know a lot of people have already seen the show, whether it was the movie or maybe they've read the book, but I think something can be taken from it each time that it's watched.
I mean, obviously, I hope you all love the show and have as much fun seeing it as we have had making it. I hope that you laugh. I kind of hope that you cry. But yeah, and get back into seeing live theater again. It's been a while.
Come to the show.
Just thank you so much for being here. It's been a tough couple of years for live theater, and I know I personally feel so happy to be able to be doing this inside on a stage with a group of folks that I just really enjoy spending time with, and it wouldn't be possible if we didn't have audience members like all of you coming to watch it. So thank you for contributing some of your time, your evening, your afternoon to being here with all of us, and we hope that you enjoy the show.